All right, so we're going to solve this system of linear equations by substitution. Now remember, when we solve a system, and we're looking at this system right here, we're looking at this one. X plus 3y equal 11. And then, I'm sorry. Well, that's fine. X plus 3y equal 11. And then x minus 5y equal negative 13. That's fine. We can use that one. That's not the one I wanted, but we're okay. Okay, now listen carefully. This is a system, right?
Yes.
Now remember, one way to do this is to graph, which you don't want to do. Because you could easily mess this thing up, not find out where the exact solution is, and it may not even be integers. Your solution could be fractions. And we're going to do one where it is. So graphing is not the best way to do this. But we did graphing, we did this just to get you the idea that solving a system basically means finding out where the two lines intersect, because that's a solution. So when you solve a system, you're basically finding the solution that they both have in common. Each of these lines has how many solutions? What? X minus 5y equal negative 13. Each of those equations has how many solutions? Infinite number. Now I'm telling you this, they will intersect. You're not graphing, but they will intersect. So I'm going to have a solution. Okay, so I got to find it. So one way to find the solution is to use substitution. All right, so the first step says this. Step 1, isolate one of the variables. Okay, now listen carefully. There are two equations. You pick one of them. Pick the one that's easy to deal with. So the first step says isolate one of the variables, right? So if I look at the first one, which variable is easy to get by itself fast? The x. Not the y, because at some point you're going to have to divide by what? 3. So when you isolate the variable, you really want the coefficient to be what number? 1. That's the best one to use. But the second one's the same way, right? So either one would have been fine. Using this equation or using this equation would have been okay, because both cases, one of the variables, in both cases x, has a coefficient of what? 1. So it doesn't matter, it does not matter which equation you choose, and it does not matter which variable you get by itself. If someone in here wanted to get y by itself, go for it. I would not have, but if you do, you could be dealing with fractions because you have to divide all these by 3, right? You could at some point get 11 thirds. Over here you get at some point you get negative 13 thirds. Go for it. More power to you. All right, now you tell me which one you want to deal with, the first or the second?
First one.
First one? Okay, so I'm going to deal with the first one. All right, so that was step 1. So step 1, I'm going to isolate one of the variables. So I'm going to take this equation. Notice what I'm doing. Step 1, taking that equation, x plus 3y equal 11, and I'm getting x by itself. So how do I get x by itself? Subtract 3y from both sides. And so x equals 11 minus 3y. So did I do step 1? Yes, I did step 1. I got x by itself. Now, remember this is called substitution, right? So that means that I take what I just found and substitute it into the other equation, in substitution. So step 2. Step 2 says this. Substitute the expression from step 1, meaning this right here, this expression, into the other equation. So this is the other equation, right? So this is what I got x to be. I got x to be what? 11 minus 3y. So in place of x here, I'm going to substitute what? 11 minus 3y. So let's do step 2. So you're going to say 11 minus 3y. What else? No, minus 5y equals negative 13. So notice the process. Don't go all over the place. Don't write things all over the place where I'm confused as to what you're writing. Notice what I'm doing. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to mimic what I'm doing. So notice the arrow there. I drew an arrow, and then I put on the side, x plus 3y equals 11, that equation. I solved for x. Then you see I circled it, and I drew another arrow because that's where I'm substituting it now. And now I get this equation right here. Now notice I end up with an equation with how many variables? One. You did that the first week. How do you solve for y? Combine like terms. So I get 11 minus 8y equal negative 13. What's the next step? Subtract 11. So I get negative 8y equal negative 24. What's the next step? Divide by negative 8. And I get y to be 3. So there's the y coordinate of my solution. The y coordinate of my solution is 3. Now, step 4 says this. Step 4 says substitute this value into this other equation, into that first equation. Just go back to this one, because remember, that's where you got x by itself, right? What are you trying to find now? You're trying to find the value of which letter? No, you already found y, x. Now you know y, right? So then you go back here, and you substitute into y now. So x equals 11 minus 3 times y. What's y? 3. So it's 11 minus 9. So what's my x value? 11 minus 9 you had since you were born? 2. So that's your solution. Now the directions will say write the solution as an ordered pair. So the answer is going to be parentheses. What do I put first? 2, comma 3. So that's your solution. You found the solution. Now let's check it. Let's just see that it's true. So that point better satisfy both of them, right?
Right.
All right, so let's check. Remember, x is 2, y is what? 3. So listen carefully. I'm just going to actually write it out. So I'm going to do it here. Let's check this. You don't have to check, but I'm just doing it here. So here's my first equation, and here's my second. Both of them have to be true, right? That's what I mean by solving a system. So x is 2, so I'm asking is 2 plus 3 times 3 equal to 11. What's the answer? Yes, 2 plus 9 does equal 11. So far we're okay, but you got to do the other one. What's x?
2.
Is 2 minus 5 times 3 the same thing as negative 13?
2 minus 15.
2 minus 15 is what? Negative 13. So that's correct. So 2, 3 is a solution. That's substitution. All right, let's do another. Okay, number 2. All right, number 2, let's suppose you had x plus 3y equal 8. And y equals 2x minus 9. All right, so I want to solve this system by substitution. So if I'm doing this by substitution, what should I do first?
Well, you got to pick which one you want.
Get one of the variables by themselves.
So probably the
Y is already by himself, right? The second one. So why would you subtract 3y? You see, you got to look at both of them, right? Make things easy on yourself. Now, if you wanted to, you could have subtracted. Could she have subtracted 3y from both sides? Yes. I don't know why, but you could have. Because look at the other equation. Isn't the variable by itself?
Yes.
Yes. Y is already by itself. But you could have subtracted 3y. You would have gotten the same answer. Okay? So look at both. Look at both. See which one is going to make it more efficient for you. So I'm going to use this one. So here, y is already by itself, right? Now what's the next step? Notice I'm circling this. I take this expression here, and I substitute
The 2x
into the other equation. So wherever I see a y, what do I plug in? 2x minus 9. So here's what I get. X plus 3 times y. What's y?
2x minus 9.
Equals what?
8.
8. All right, so that's where I'm at. You had this since you were 5 years old. What's the next step?
Distribution property.
Distributive property. So I get x plus 6x minus 27 equal 8. What's the next step?
I like terms.
So 7x minus 27 equal 8. What's the next step?
Add 27 to both sides.
Okay. So 7x equal 35.
35, yeah.
So it's x. 5. So I found the x coordinate of my solution. I found the x coordinate where those two lines intersect. I just got to find the what now? The y. So all you do, see that first step? You just go back to this one. So now y equals 2 times x. What's x?
5.
5 minus 9. So that's 10 minus 9, which is 1. So what's your solution?
5, 1.
5, 1. That's your solution. And you can always check, because these are integers, so it's not that difficult to check them. Go back to both of them. They got to satisfy both of them, right? So here's my x, here's my y. So let's check. X is 5, y is 1. Is 5 plus 3 times 1 equal to 8? Yes. Is 1, y is 1, equal to 2 times 5 minus 9? Yes. All right, so that's number 2. All right, let's look at number 3. Okay, here's the system. You have 2x plus 5y equal negative 4. And 3x minus y equal 11. All right, so that's where I'm at. All right. So again, I'll make sure you read the directions. Always read the directions. Directions are going to say, in this particular case, it says solve by substitution. So you got to use substitution. All right, so if we're using by substitution, which equation do you think you're going to look at?
Second one.
The second one. The second one. Because if you look at the first one, both x and y have a coefficient other than 1. You might say, well, the second one doesn't have a coefficient of 1. You're right. But it has a coefficient of what? Negative 1, which I can get 1. So in the second equation, which variable can you get by itself? Y. So let's go to the second one now. So I'm going to take the second one right here, and I'm going to rewrite this equation so I get y by itself. Now, it's up to you how you get y by itself. You can bring the y to one side first or whatever you do, but make sure mathematically it's correct. So how do you want to get y by itself? What do you want to do? Move the negative y to the other side? Okay, I can do that. That is logically correct.
You get a positive 1.
Yeah, you get a positive y right away. So I get 3x equal 11 plus y, right? But I hadn't got y by itself, but I'm almost there. What's the next step? Subtract 11. So I get 3x minus 11 equal y. 3x minus 11 equal y. All right, so that's where I'm at. So that's my first step. Notice all of us would have chosen the second equation. And then we've gotten y by itself. That was what all of us would have chosen. The first one, half of us could have chosen the first equation, half could have chosen the second equation. You would have still gotten the same solution. All right, now the next step is to, remember I circled this, take that expression, go to the other equation, this one. And wherever you see the y, what do I substitute? 3x minus 11. All right, now we've done enough problems the first week to know how to deal with what we're about to look at. Because look, I have 3x minus y, right? So I have 3x minus, now I'm going to ask you this, is this correct right here? No. It is not 3x minus x minus 11. Remember, what did I tell you to do that first week when you had something like subtract this? Parentheses. You're subtracting y, right? Y is that binomial, correct? So you got to subtract both terms.
Take it to the other.
Yeah.
Oh, I put the wrong one, didn't I? Sorry. No, you're right. Thank you. See, you're paying attention. But if you had that, that's what you would do. You put that in parentheses, right? All right.
It happens.
So you go to the other equation, so that's y, correct? All right. So we get this. We get 2x plus 5 times y. What's y? In parentheses, right? Okay. All right. All right. Now, what's the next step? Okay. So I get 2x plus what? Equal? Okay. Now what?
17x minus 55 equals 24.
Next step?
Plus 55.
Combine like terms. What's 17x equal to?
51. X equals 3.
All right. Divide both sides by 17. X equal 3, right? So what have I just found?
X value.
The x value of what? No. The what? The solution. You're solving the system, right? You're finding the solution. So I found the x value of the solution. I found the x value of the point where they intersect. How do I find the y value? Go back to that circle part. Yeah, so I get 3 times 3 minus 11 equals y. 9 minus 11 equals y, so what's y? Negative 2. So what's my solution? 3, negative 2. Okay, 3, negative 2. Now if you want to check, let me just check this one. So I'm checking 3, negative 2. You go back to the original problem, the original. So I had two equations. 2x plus 5y equal negative 4. 3x minus y equals 11. That's a y. So wherever we see the x, I plug in 3. Wherever we see a y, I plug in negative 2. So 2 times 3 plus 5 times a negative 2, is that equal to a negative 4? That's the question. 6 minus 10 is what? Negative 4. Let's go here. 3 times x, what's x? 3. Subtract y, what's y? The question is that equal to 11? Well, that's 9. Subtract the negative 2 means what?
Add.
Plus 2. So is that true?
Yes.
Yes. So again, what I found was the point where those two lines intersect. The only point that they share in common is what point? 3, negative 2. So that's the only solution. Remember, each line has how many solutions? An infinite number. Together, they intersect where? At one point. So that's the solution to that system. All right, let's do another one. So number 4. All right, number 4, let's suppose you had All right, let's suppose you had this one. 2x plus 5y, 2x plus 5y equal -4. Oh,
That's the same one we did.
yeah, but that's on the book they have it listed twice. Sorry. Your book had it listed twice. All right, so, huh? All right, let's do this one. 2x minus 7y equals 2. 3x plus y equals -20. So let's do that. And that should be the last one because I think you have the idea for substitution. Yes, -20. Okay, which equation should all of us choose?
Second one.
The second one. Because there you can easily get y by itself. So let's take the second one. 3x plus y equal -20, get y by itself. All of us should do what to the next step?
Subtract 3x.
Subtract 3x on both sides. And all of us should say that y equals what?
-3 minus 20.
Yeah, -20 minus 3x or -3x minus 20 does not matter. All right. Circle that expression. Now make sure you put in the right equation. So the second one is what I just chose, so I got to put it into the first one, right? In place of y. Just like that. So I get 2x minus 7 times y, so that's the idea, that's substitution. What's y?
-3x minus 20.
Equal 2. All right. So if this equation right here, where you're on your test Wednesday, this right here, what will be your next step?
Distributive property.
Distributive property. You wouldn't say 2x minus 7 is -5x, right? All right, so 2x plus 140 plus 21x, is that correct?
Yeah.
Equal 2. Okay, next step.
Combine like terms.
So I get 23x plus 140 equal 2. Next step.
Subtract 140 from both sides.
All right. And so 23x equal -138. Next step.
Divide both sides by 23.
So what's your x coordinate of your solution? -6? So that's the x coordinate of your solution. All right. What's the next step? Now you got to find which coordinate. The y. So how do you do that?
Plug it in.
Go to this one right here, the one that we had circled. So y equals -20 minus 3 times x. What's x?
-6.
So -20 plus
-18.
18, which gives us -2. So what's your solution?
-6 comma -2.
Okay. So that was the idea of substitution.
No. Be on
What?
the next test.
No, that's on your next test. That's on test 2. All right.